Okay, let's get this show on the road. Hello, everyone. My name is Tiandra Robinson, and today's webinar is about how to create a website. I'm going to wait a few minutes to see if anyone joins. After a couple of minutes, I will begin. Really? We have a special guest. We have a new baby. He is an exotic bully, and his name is Jag, so you may hear him every now and then during this live webinar. Now, I can't see who is in, but if you would like, you can enter your name in the chat to let me know you're here. Again, my name is Tiandra Robinson, and today's webinar is about how to create a website. There you go. Okay, I don't see anything in the comments, but just to give you a little brief introduction, I am an experienced IT professional. I started my career in IT at the State Department in Washington, D.C., which is my hometown. And I hope I'm not dating myself, but the first website that I worked on was at that time called DSSrewards.net. It has recently been changed to the Rewards for Justice program. And if you know anything about the State Department, that website was designed to for people to turn in. Hello, Kevin. How are you? Thank you for joining. I was just giving everyone a brief background on my experience developing websites. And again, I started my career at the State Department. And hopefully I'm not dating myself, but this was before Desert Storm. So if we have any Gen Xers in the room, that's great. You know what year that is. Hey Kevin, how are you? It looks like we have a couple of people in, so I'm going to get started because we only have an hour. And developing websites is it can get pretty in depth, but today we're just going to go over the basic steps that you need to take to develop a website. But before we begin, I want to know if you all have websites for your business, or are you thinking of developing a website for personal use? If you can just enter that information in the chat, it will help me. That way I know what kind of information to give you. Kevin, I know you have a website and it's for your ministry. Is that correct? You're probably going to have to go into the chat and let me know. Okay. So with that being said, let's begin. The first step that you want to take when deciding to develop a website is to make sure you understand what the purpose of the website is. There are different types of websites. Okay, I see Kevin says he has one for his business, KVM Ministries LLC. Excellent. Now, there are a couple of different types of websites. Some are for personal use, and then there are some that are for business use. If you are in fact selling a service or a product, you usually want to go with the .com, but if you have a ministry or a nonprofit organization, you can use the .org extension, and there are some differences there. Thank you, Kevin, for sharing that. One of the first things you want to do is to sit down and decide what exactly is the purpose for your website. Is it just to give out information about your business or your ministry? If so, then it could be a very basic website. But if there's going to be any transactions involved when it comes to selling products or services or collecting things like donations, any monetary transactions, you want to have an e-commerce site. And that one is a little bit more technical. The other thing you want to do is decide if you're going to have a team or is it something you're going to do by yourself. Ideally, in the beginning, you may want to think for yourself what the website is going to be and eventually bring on other people to help you with areas like content development, graphic design, and marketing. So, after you figure what your purpose is for the website, then you have to decide if you're going to have a team or if this is something you're going to do yourself. It's just like when you're going to have a house built, you have to survey the land, figure out where you want your site to be and what you want it to be comprised of. And when I say what you want it to be comprised of, when you're thinking about a website versus a house, you have to decide how many pages you're going to have, what kind of information you're going to give, how are people going to contact you. Okay, so if it's a basic website, those are pretty simple, and you can get those type of sites for free. There are many resources out there where you can get a website for free, but I personally will recommend that if you're going to be doing this for your business, that it be something that you pay for, because you get more tools and more resources to run your business and to communicate with your customers. So one of the popular free websites out is Wix, Wix.com. And I would even say to use that to sort of get into practice to see what it takes to develop a website, so you can get familiar with the terms like your home page, your contact us page, forms, and when it comes to deciding what kind of images you're going to put on your website. That will give you practice. But then if you want to take it another step further, you want to go ahead and pay for something that's going to offer you some back-end services like an e-commerce shopping cart or a way to collect donations from people for your ministry. So the next thing you want to do is decide on a domain name. What exactly do you want people to type into the web to get to your website? Ideally, when you decide on your domain name, you want to make sure it matches your brand for your business name, your logo. So all these things need to tie into each other. So Kevin, I see that you have a very beautiful logo, and I did get a chance to see your website. It's very good. It's very informational. Do you have any specific questions about what you're doing so far? You're doing a great job so far. I love your logo and your website. And also, what did you use for your platform? Okay, I see you have Wix. Are you going to stick with Wix, or are you thinking about maybe migrating over to something else? I have two websites and I went with GoDaddy. I have a little bit of well, not a little bit, but I have a technical background, so I'm comfortable using something like a GoDaddy, but depending upon what type of business you have, it'll determine what type of platform you use. For example, what I'm using for Finest Wine Boutique as an e-commerce solution is not the same thing that someone who is a realtor will use. It may not fit their needs. And Kevin, that's something that you have to and you have had to research to see what type of platform fits your needs. And this isn't something that is static. It's something that grows over time. So with your business, as your business grows, your website is going to grow. So your website is not something that's going to be static. It's not going to be the same on the 5th month in business as it was in the 1st month in business. For example, Kevin, now you have a book, a very good book, I might add, that is out. So you have to find a way to incorporate that into your existing site and maybe begin to offer maybe some snippets of the book, or even maybe links to where they can purchase it, or they can purchase it on your site. So those are some things that you have to take in consideration when you're developing websites. So, okay, so let's go back to the steps. And Kevin, you can type in a question anytime you have one, and we'll take it from there, and anyone else who is on. Okay, so let's go over briefly the steps. Okay. So we already said that one of the main things that you want to do is decide on the purpose of the website. The next thing you want to do is decide on what your domain name is going to be, your logo, your branding, which would include your colors that you want to use throughout all of your marketing materials. It should all be cohesive. Okay. So after you decide what your logo is going to be, you have to decide what kind of content you're going to share on your website. I would say make sure that you do some industry research and see what the best practices are. See what your competitors are doing so that you can see if this is something that you want to incorporate into your site as well. Because they could be doing some things that maybe you hadn't thought about, and you'd be like, hey, that's a good idea. I should incorporate that into my site. Again, if you're comfortable and you have some technical skills, you can do this on your own, or you can hire someone to help you with this. Kevin, do you have any questions so far? I'm going to start to go over some of the tools that you might need to use to develop your website. Okay, when it comes to your logo, that is considered a graphical image. Either you're going to have to design that yourself, or you're going to have to go out and get someone to design it for you. If you design it yourself, there are several websites that you can go to create it yourself. I personally use Adobe Photoshop for most of my image creations. So Adobe Photoshop is something that even most of the people that you will go out and hire, they will use that. There are some websites that you can go to if you're not comfortable with designing graphics, where you can go in and give them some ideas, and people will bid on it and they'll develop a web logo for you. Kevin, I'm curious, did you design your logo yourself, or did you have someone design it for you? If you can put the information in the chat, that would be great. It's a really great logo. If you are not comfortable doing it yourself, there is a website you can go to. It's called Fiverr, Fiverr, and this is a website that you can go to get help with your website development needs. If it's something like graphics, or if it's something like your mailers that you send out, or images that you need to put on logos, or any of your business material, Fiverr is a good resource for that. They also do video animation and music and audio. Okay. That's the only one that I really recommend right now. So let's see. If you are in fact a realtor and you are looking for different platforms that you want to use for your website, I would recommend going into Google and saying, give me the top 10 realtor sites, and look at those sites and see what they're using. If you are in a ministry, I would say the same thing. Look at the top 10 ministries. Maybe somebody like a TD Jakes is somebody that you like the way his platform is set up. You can get many ideas from his site as well. So always, no matter what industry you're in, do some industry research. Look at what your competitors are doing, or if you don't consider them competitors, you can look at what other businesses in your industry are using and what kind of features they have on their website. Okay. The next thing you want to do is you want to start to think about the content. And the content for your website should answer a couple of questions for anybody who's coming to your site. Who you are, what you do, why should they choose your business over somebody else's. Sort of like the who, what, when, why, and where's. If you can answer all those questions and put that information on your website, whether it be your home page or your about us page, it just or sprinkled through the website, it's going to be a very effective website. You have to know who you are speaking to, because the content that you develop for a customer is not the same type of content that someone who wants to partner with your business will want to see. So you may have to have separate sections on your website dedicated to speak to certain audiences. What type of audiences do you have? Do you have individuals who come onto your site that may need, for example, in your instance, Kevin, who may need prayer or who may be looking for a sermon on a certain topic? Do they need counseling? Do they need you to officiate at their wedding? Marriage counseling. So if it's a product or a service, the content has to be laid out in separate ways. And again, you have to take into consideration what are your different audiences. Okay. And some of the other tools that you're going to need to use when it comes to graphics or images that you use on your site. If you are a business, you have to be careful that you're not using something and somebody can come back and sue you. So ideally, any images that you use on your website, either these are images that you take yourself or videos that you take yourself or you pay for, so that you won't have to litigate that. And there are plenty of sites out there that offer stock images, but to be honest with you, people really want to see you in action. They want to see you with your um, members and the people that you work with. So the more human faces you can put on the content, the better. People don't want to read a lot of information. To be honest, most people, they say that most people only have the attention span of like 2 minutes. So imagine that you're on an elevator. Whatever you would say between floors 1 through 5 to someone to tell them about your business, you need to have that front and center on your website, the home page. Most people don't even make it past the home page. So you need to really capture them on that home page right away and then begin to direct them into different areas on your website. It should be very easy to navigate. Okay. Now there are a couple of different websites out here that are very common. People use WordPress. They use Wix is probably number one, GoDaddy. So those are like the top three that you might want to look into when it comes to developing your website. The web development process is pretty much divided into like 3 different layers. You have the design, you have the development, and then the implementation. Most people think when it comes to a website, you just get on a computer and start typing, and that is not the case. Somebody can give you a website for free and have pretty much the framework laid out for you, but it's going to take a lot of work to be able to fill up those rooms, just like you would a house that you have built. Okay, you have to have the content. You have to understand like what it is people are coming to you for, what message you want to send out, that kind of information. So the content is really, really important, and that's usually almost the last step. So let's review what we went over so far. When it comes to developing a website, the first thing you want to do is decide where your website is going to reside, what platform you're going to use. And this is something that can change. If you start on one platform, you may find out later on that you need to move it over to a different platform. Or if you start off with a basic informational website, you might find out later down the line you need to incorporate something that has some e-commerce capabilities, which means now you have to move all of that content and those graphics and all that planning over to another platform. So ideally, you want to think long term when you first start so you don't have to go through that. And the other thing is you have to make sure whoever you work with, if it's somebody that designs your logo or if they do a video for you, you have to think of them as a team, because these people are going to, if they create your content, um, there could be some struggles if you decide to sever that relationship or move on and choose a different provider. I've seen this a lot. People will have someone say, I'll develop your website for you for free. They develop the website and then you can't get in touch with them to get it updated, or it's just a struggle, or your business needs change. You bring on partners and they want to go in a different direction. So you have to make sure that you think about this as a team effort from the very beginning. Sure, you can start it off, but everybody that does something for you, these are people that you're going to need down the line and as things change. A website is not static. It grows, it changes, and if it is static, it's going to be boring and pretty much people aren't going to use it. So you have to think of this as not a one-shot deal. When you get into developing a website for your company, it is a commitment, and it's something that's going to change over time, and it's going to require maintenance. So those are some things that you want to think about up front. Okay, so let's go here. I'm going to give you 7 bullet points on how to create a website. Okay, we already went over a couple of them, but determine the primary purpose of your website was step 1. Decide on your domain name is step 2. Choose a web host. We mentioned those: Wix, GoDaddy, WordPress. Those are examples. And then you have to build your pages. It's like a book. This is it's like a, let's pretend your website is a storefront. You have to have different areas that people go to where they can get information. You can have the home, about us, products and services, contact us. Those are 4 very basic pages that you should have on every website. And understand that people are going to be coming to your website. They might come in on one page. They might come in on the products and services page and never see your home page. They may come in on your home page and never see the rest of your website. So you got to make sure that on each page you have some type of information on there where they can contact you, which will ideally be your email address, and your email address should match your domain name. So whenever you purchase your a web hosting package and your domain name, make sure that you get an email address that coincides with your domain name. If you are in fact selling things on your website, it could be a book, it could be a product, it could be a service, or if you're accepting donations for a worthy cause, you want to make sure you set up your payment system, and this will require that you purchase an e-commerce solution. Those are more expensive and they're a little bit more technical. You may need the assistance of a professional to help you with that. Make sure you test out your website and publish it. Okay, because for example, with my Finest Wine Boutique website, I had to make sure that if people go on and put something in their cart, that it will be smooth from end to end, because you don't want people to get on your website, get excited, I'm going to get his book, and then they can't check out. So you don't want those kind of things to happen, because you'll never get that customer back. Okay, and it will ruin your business's reputation. Okay. Now, once you test and publish your website, your work is no way near done. Now you have to get into marketing your website. That whole saying that they have build it and they will come does not apply to your website. You can have a website, it'll sit there static, and you'll be charged monthly or yearly and never get any return on your investment. So you have to market your website. You have to be very strategic about it. and you want to use things like social media to market your website. You don't want to just rely on that. I know because of COVID, everybody's in the house, but traditionally for business, you don't just uh, rely on social media to market your business. You go out like you do, Kevin, into the community and you get involved and you do things and you share your information. Like you had your book signing, which was awesome. Wish I could have been there, but I did see it on social media and it was great. So, yeah, so you have to market your website. Social media is one way to market it, but just like any other business, you have to get out there. You have to get your name out there. You have to go to your local chamber of commerces. You need to get involved in community events. You need to be where your people are, and you need to hit the pavement. Okay. So those are just some basic steps on how to build a website. Now, when it comes to advertising using social media, it's totally different from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter to YouTube. All of these platforms are totally different. The behaviors of the people on each platform is totally different. And you can't design one graphic and think it's going to show up properly from Facebook to internet. What is it? From Facebook to Twitter to what's the other one? Instagram. Now they got all kinds of stuff. TikTok. It's all kinds of things, but each one of those things require a different tool and a different skill set and a different understanding of who your audience is and how you can communicate with them. That's a whole nother ball game. I will have to do a whole nother webinar on each one specifically. So I've been talking for about 30 minutes. I want to know if you have any questions. I'm here to help you and assist you and share my expertise. Before we get into the question and answer period, I want you to write down this email address so that if you have any questions, you can contact me later. It is T Robinson, and I'll put it in the chat as well. T Robinson at dazzleclicks.com. Again, I do have over 20 years of experience in IT, and I do offer most of the services that we're talking about. And that is Dazzle, D as in David, A as in Apple, ZZLE, clicks, like with your mouse, CLICKS.com. So if you have any questions, well, Kevin, you can reach out to me and we can work on anything that you need to work on with your website separately. But anybody else, T Robinson at dazzleclicks.com is my email address. The website is dazzleclicks.com. Kevin, did you have any questions about any particular post? I know you wanted to know what type of apps that I was using for some things. Which one in particular did you want to know about? Because everything I design, it's not all using one app. It's not all using one type of software. It all depends on where you saw it. If you saw it on Instagram, I use a couple of different apps. If you saw it on Facebook, there are different apps that I use for that. So what in particular did you have a question about? And if anyone else has any questions, feel free to shoot them to me here. What I usually do with my clients that need website design is I give them 1 hour of consultation and we go over all this. The basic steps to how to create a web page, and we go over the web design process because it is a process. It's not something that you just jump on a computer and do, especially if you're doing this for your business. So I don't see any questions from you, Kevin. I know you. Maybe let me check my phone. Maybe you're trying to call me. Let's see. I know you had a question. Hold on. I've been just ignoring my phone. Okay. You asked me what apps do I use for my posts to advertise and market? Okay, it all depends on what platform I'm using. For something like YouTube, I use iMovie and something called Clips. It comes with the iPad, and it basically allows you to take any footage that you may have recorded with your phone. I use my phone for mostly everything. I don't have a fancy camera. I don't have anything fancy for videos. I use my cell phone. I take pictures and I take videos, and then I upload them to my computer, and I use that different software to put the pictures together, add text animation, and compile them into like a short video. And any video that you do for your business, you don't want it to be more than 2 minutes long, because people really don't have that long of a attention span, unless it's something where you're going to be showing someone how to develop something or how to create something. So I use those two things, iMovie and Clips. Now there's something else that I use. It's called I think it's called Content Samurai. Let me check. Content Samurai. You can use this if you want to do something like a class or a webinar, or you can use it for a lot of different things to grow your business with video. And that is called Content Samurai. Samurai is spelled Samurai. They recently changed their name to Vidnami. However you pronounce that. I don't know. I stick with the old name, which is Content Samurai. And something else that you can use for the cute little Facebook stories and the Instagram stories is something called Canva. Canva. Let me make sure. Canva. It's easy to use. You can do all kinds of things. You can create social media posts, which is very important to your marketing strategy. Logo design, Instagram posts, Instagram stories. You can create posters, web banners. Okay. You can animate things on your social media. All kinds of things. So that's a really good tool to use. But again, you have to have a marketing strategy. You can build your website, but just because you build it doesn't mean that people are gonna actually go to your website. So that's it. Those are the steps that you need to create a website, and some tools that you can use to help you develop your website and to market your website. And if no one has any questions for me, we can call it a day. Kevin, let me know if I answered your question or if you have any more questions. Okay, I don't see Kevin responding. I'm not sure if I'm going to leave this up. Facebook gave me the opportunity to do this live, and even though I have the Finest Wine Boutique website, I wanted to share some of my technical expertise with you, because this is what I do, my 9 to 5. Okay, again, if anyone has any questions, you can reach out to me later, either through the Finest Wine Boutique Facebook page, the Finest Wine Boutique Instagram page, on YouTube, Tiandra Robinson on YouTube, or through dazzleclicks.com. My email address is trobinson@dazzleclicks.com. Okay. I sent them. What does that mean, Kevin? I sent them. Okay. All right. Good night, everybody. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for thanks for your support. Bye. Baby, you snorting in my video.